Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to do a breakdown of a project I worked on. I work as a director in Ghana, a director of commercials, of documentaries, of music videos, content, etc. And my work is very exciting and challenging. I think what makes it exciting is the fact that I'm always faced with challenges that are new, and especially working in this side of the world where there are usually problems and challenges that as a director you need to solve as you go on. So this is why I actually love what I do. And today I want to talk about one of the projects I worked on which presented a peculiar challenge which we were able to solve, and I think is worth sharing.
Hi, I'm from Vodafone. Can I talk to you for a second? How long does it take you to get to work, usually?
Like 40 minutes.
So what if I told you I could get you there in 20 minutes?
I can't get there in 20 minutes. Please,
Trust
I'll
me.
run late for work.
Just hold on, I'll get you there in 20 minutes. What do you think?
So it happens. Yeah. Neat. Yeah? I know, smiling. See, that's why you're a Vodafone customer, right? Yes. You get special things happening to you just randomly. Right? Yeah. And how are you feeling about just being driven to work and just...
It's like epic. Never thought about this. Like, I mean, you can't go to bed thinking the next morning you have this right to work.
So usually I will speak to a brand about a campaign or speak to an advertising agency about a campaign, and I bring in my expertise in production and filmmaking, and then we are able to solve a problem or we're able to produce work that would help the organization and the brand. One of such organizations is Vodafone. So the digital agency for Vodafone, Echohouse, had a project that they wanted to do, and it was when Vodafone Ghana was launching their 4G network. And they wanted to do something that was eye-catching, that could catch attention, that could go viral on social media without them necessarily pushing it. So this is where I come in. So their idea was to produce an experiential video that could capture what 4G on that network was in real life. Now I was excited about this project because then, hey, it was something different and the challenge seemed exciting. We went through a series of meetings with the client. That's myself, the agency, and the client. We went through a series of ideas and we finalized the idea, and that is when the real work started for me. So the big idea was to have a motorcade or a carcade or whatever you want to call it, which we nicknamed Vodacade. The idea was to have a random Vodafone customer picked up by this Vodacade, transported from one side of town, that's Accra, to another side of town during rush hour, Monday morning rush hour. And if you know Accra, you will know that Monday morning rush hour is crazy. Now this was to capture the fact that with Vodafone 4G, you could browse and stream through all the interruptions, which obviously is what internet is supposed to do for you. So that was the big idea. Now as a director and working on several productions, there were things that I had to note in implementing or producing this video. Key things I kept in mind was, one, being able to capture the brand's essence, capturing the core objective of the film, which was to promote Vodafone 4G, and also seriously consider the scale of the production and the technical challenges that were going to come. If this production was going to go on without a hitch, I needed to be able to foresee or be able to sort of like go into the future and predict what could happen or go wrong, and come back and put in place solutions that could solve this. As a director, I think one of the key things that facilitates my work is the fact that I've been able to build a network of creatives and production people around me. So this was an opportunity to be able to buy into this network and be able to pull in the right people to make this project a success. In bringing in these people, which range from photographers to filmmakers to drone pilots to producers, I needed to be able to consider their capabilities, what they could do, and be able to match it with the task ahead. So the biggest challenge this production brought was the fact that we're going to have a number of cars and we're going to drive from one side of town to the other side of town through traffic with police escort, meaning that there was no stopping, there was no chance to have a second take There was no chance to redo this. We just had one shot and it had to be shot properly. We had to build a bank of images that we could bring back into post-production and capture the excitement of what the production was about. So this meant that there had to be cameras everywhere. Everywhere. I remember speaking to the client and telling the client and the agency the number of cameras we needed, and their first reaction was, wow, why so many cameras? So in terms of crew, I built up a structure that could actually work for this project, and also within that structure I was able to double up on the roles of people so that just in case something goes wrong, there was a backup. So our Vodacade was made up of 4 cars, 3 4-wheel drives, 1 sports car, and we had 4 bikes, 3 of which were regular sports bikes and 1 was a police bike, and that was the one that led us through the traffic. And very interestingly enough, the rider of the police bike was a female, and I thought that was a very interesting twist to the story. So because we're moving from one location to another location, I first had to consider how we're going to place cameras around the Vodacade, because then that was going to move from one place to another destination. So we needed to capture footage all around that. Now the main thing to capture was, in one of the cars was the surprise Vodafone customer we had picked up, and in that car we had the CEO of Vodafone at that time who was going to sit in the car and interact with this person. That obviously meant that there had to be some camera presence around there. And even before we picked up the customer, we had to capture some pre-footage of her reactions, etc. Another vital part of this was how we're going to capture the reactions of the people on the street, how they're reacting to what was happening. After we set up cameras and sound in the main car, then we had to set up cameras in and around the cars that were part of the Vodacade. This included cameras on the cars, cameras on the bikes, cameras inside other cars and outside other cars. Now this made up the first batch of cameras that we had to use. Then we had to go to the second stage. Because we're moving from one area to another, we had to be able to capture activities at different vantage points. This meant that we had cameras placed at vantage points that we're going to pass through along the route. And because we had police escort, this meant that we're going to go through this process in less than 15 minutes. So that meant that every camera position had to have at least 2 cameras just in case something went wrong with one camera. And that's what we did for all the different stations. Now some of the junctions or places we're going to go through had a lot of traffic. So we had to fly drones in the air to make sure we captured the atmosphere of the traffic that we were weaving through, to give the viewers a sense of the amount of traffic we had to weave through. As a director, you're working on a project and you envisage a particular shot that you want, and one of these shots was a shot from the top of one of the tallest buildings along the route we were taking. So we had to then write letters to the company, be able to get permission to get a camera person up. I think one key to success for this project was the layers of checks and the layers of backup that we had to put together for this project. I had to make sure there was a producer at every vantage point who was then checking on the 2 camera people at every vantage point. That meant that the possibility of something going wrong was really, really, really slim. And even if something went wrong, we knew we had 2 cameras to capture 2 different views. And at every vantage point, each producer was tasked to make sure that the camera people got enough B-roll for us to be able to put within our edit. I think the main challenge of this project was the fact that all client could see was problems, and technical hitches. And I'd been in talks with the agency, several times, and we had been able to fine-tune all the details. And from a production point of view, I made sure my team was updated. My team knew all the objectives of what we're doing. And also from a logistical point of view, the agency did a great job by making sure everything we needed was in place. Now the biggest hurdle was to convince clients to say, yes, we're going to go with this. And I think we're able to do that because we were able to put together a plan that had like backups, layers of backups. Just in case something went wrong, we knew what the next plan was. We had to actually change the route during the planning stages because then there were no fly areas within our original route. So then we had to divert our route, but still had like the same ending point. And I think even though this was a challenge, it gave us a different dynamic to filming, which made the film a bit more organic, I think, because then there was a lot more vehicular traffic in the area we eventually chose to film in. Another huge challenge of this project was post-production time. We shot on a Monday And this was meant to go online on a Wednesday, meaning that by close of day Monday, we needed to have a rough cut. By midday the next day, the final cut had to be ready for it to be scored, for color correction, for it to be finished and sent over to client. Client feedback was really vital to this project because they knew how they wanted to communicate this, and we had to work with them to be able to produce this project. One of the reasons why I'm doing this video is to be able to share some of the challenges we go through as production people and how we solve these problems. Usually there's always this friction between production directors and producers, and let's say the finance department of an organization or a brand, or the procurement department of an organization or a brand, because there are usually things that both parties do not understand. And after working in this field for a while, I tend to understand the fact that when brands put in money into these productions, they want return on investment. So it is vital for production companies or directors to understand what clients want and be able to deliver to those objectives. And also it would be great if people who are not necessarily in production but work for brands also understand the kind of work we do, so that we can work with them seamlessly in working for their brands and their organizations. I hope this video has been insightful for those in production and even for clients and people on the sides of organizations and brands. The plan is that we're able to work seamlessly together and produce great content for your brands and organizations. So thank you for watching this video. I intend to share more videos like this, be able to give you more insights about production and the things we go through. Thank you for watching.